Welcome everyone to our weekly webinar, where we are learning together about the real estate trends happening these days during the pandemic. We shortly will be streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you for everyone joining the Zoom here. Hello, everyone on the Zoom, and I'm seeing that now we're live on social media as well. Hi, everyone. Once again, welcome to our weekly webinar. For the new folks, we're doing these weekly webinars to better connect with the real estate professionals, provide help, inviting the industry leaders, and in the end of the show, we show the latest updates of our product that is built to transform the real estate transaction. Today, our topic is how innovation and technology help recruit and retain new agents. And our guest is Michael Fanning, Senior VP of Windermere. He will reveal with us the secret sauce that has helped grow Windermere into one of the largest independent real estate companies in the nation, with more than 300 offices all over the country and 6,000 agents throughout the Western US and Mexico. Michael, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Could you please start sharing a little bit information about yourself and what made you passionate about real estate and technology?
Absolutely. Well, Natalia, thank you for having me, and William as well. You know, it's interesting. I look back, I was just thinking how long I've been doing this. I got into this business in 1997. And prior to that, I was in the mortgage world and getting into real estate. I didn't get into real estate really for transactional purposes. I got in for the technology. And we really just started at that time creating what we know now today as IDX, or Internet Data Exchange. So we were one of the first companies in the United States to have a site that shared listing data. So, and William and I were talking about this, you can imagine prior to that, in 1995, we were doing a Polaroid and putting them on a college rule paper and putting them into a 3-ring binder. And that's how you would look at listing data. And so we had this idea that, hey, what if we could put it onto the internet? So that was back in the days of Netscape, if you remember Netscape, and Spynet in a box. And we had dial-up modems, which was all fun. And so that's how I got started. And from there, it just grew, and looking at new ways to take real estate and technology and start building it together so that ultimately we could have a phenomenal experience for our clients. And awesome. And that's kind of where it started for me, and it's just kind of grown and grown and grown to where we are today with Windermere. Like you said, we're the biggest company on the West Coast, and we have a lot of it based in making sure that anything that we use in terms of technology is really building a phenomenal experience for our clients, and also allowing our agents to perform at a higher level. I think at the end of the day, that's a couple things that we look at to say, is technology helping us achieve that?
Awesome, fantastic. Yeah, it's really impressive how you brought one of the first technological advancement and revolutions early on to Windermere and the industry, because this what allowed then Trulia, Zillow, and others to utilize this new standard to share listings, and definitely it transformed the industry tremendously. And today we're having Willie Dickey from Propy team to help me. He will be the co-host for this webinar. Willie, welcome.
Thanks for the warm intro, Natalia, and thanks again, Michael, for joining us today. So I'm going to start off with a real simple question, but something that's important is how do you leverage technology to help recruit and retain agents?
That's a great question. I think, today when you look at, we call it our value proposition, or what are the things that we offer that allow people to see value in joining Windermere, and technology absolutely is one of those items. And so when we're meeting with, whether we're meeting with somebody who wants to be an owner or somebody who wants to be an agent, we have to look to say, okay, what do we have that's going to enhance your ability to build relationships, maintain the relationship, and then to give you long-term business. And technology definitely is one of those when it comes to things such as the CRM, how do you manage your contacts? How do you manage your transaction? How do you build presentation materials that can live both in a digital world and in a print world? And then how can all of that, access your database, if you will? And, we laughed about this, but, single sign-on. I mean, I want to enter one place and be able to do it. So if we can demonstrate that and show people how easy it is to use those tools and how it enhances their business and relationships, it definitely helps us in growing our company. And because, it's one of the items today that, that everybody's got to check off their list. Do you have the ability to provide for me really good technology that's going to allow me to streamline my business and make me more productive? And so we use, it's one of our offerings, one of our value wedges, if you will.
Gotcha.
And what kind of technologies are you talking about during these meetings when you are aiming to win a new team, a new brokerage? What kind of technologies normally you talk about, and what do you think, like whether this tech stack will be the main selling point in the future?
Well, first and foremost, if you look at the lifeblood for a real estate agent, it's their database. And so you have to have some form of a CRM. And, what's interesting, we do training, and, what's interesting is that we know that, really only 40% of real estate agents have some form of a CRM. 60% of real estate agents have, they think their email is a CRM, the contacts in their email. That's not a CRM. That's a phone book, if you will, that has email addresses associated to it. But, so a CRM is huge. And then how does that CRM connect to presentation materials? So for example, if I have a CRM, does it communicate with my CMA tool, my comparative market analysis tool? Does it connect to my print media tool? Does it connect to my email media tool? Does it connect to my automated distribution of listing data for my clients? And then does it go beyond that? Then does it connect to my transaction management? Is there a single source of listing of contacts that then communicate with all those various tools? So when we're talking about our technology, we use Moxie. Present is Moxie Present, Moxie Engage, kind of the whole Moxie suite of tools. And that's been our tool that we've used from day one. And that's where, we get that type of those pieces. And then we have APIs that plug into it. So for example, we use Express Docs, which is a great digital marketing piece and a print marketing piece. And we use other companies that give us client appreciation tools, things like Client Giant or a company called Lolo, and all of that kind of plugs into one place. And then it's kind of the starting point for our agents. And then we push out from there. So that's a huge part of our technology stack, if you will.
Gotcha.
That's great. That's great that you mentioned, I don't know, Willie, if you have a question around CRM, but I want to a little bit touch base on the CRM and then proceed to the rest of the questions. So when we do demos to brokerages and agents, very often the dream of the brokerage is to have one single platform. Everything is united, and our mission is to automate the transaction and help agents and their consumers to close the transaction. However, normally those brokerages that don't have these tools incorporated, they also dream that all the contact data and all lead generation will be in one single transaction. And we have to educate those agents and brokers that no, we are not a CRM. It's a whole different industry that you need to pay attention to separately. And the key is to have a CRM separately from the transaction platform, and then they need to communicate. So you mentioned the APIs and all the integrations. It's really important. And it seems like brokerages that have ability to be technological or to hire technical advisors, they need to pay attention onto the CRM, the transaction platform, how they can talk to each other together. So how would you comment on this challenge of brokerages actually don't understanding that CRM is very different from other tech stack?
I totally agree. Well, and I think that each different tool, is got to do what it needs to do to be the best at it. And I don't think you can have one company that says, hey, we're the best CRM, we're the best transaction platform, we're the best marketing platform. You got these different companies that are working out there that are specializing in these areas. And then, like you said, then the question is does the CRM, because that's really where all my data is housed in terms of my clients, and does that give me the ability to push to those other APIs or those other tools? because you want the best of the best. So for example, we want a great CRM, but then we also want a really phenomenal transaction manager. And we also want a really great email drip campaign. To think that one tool can do all that, that's difficult. And I only say this because, you know, when I got started, you know, Moxie kind of birthed out of Windermere, if you will. And when we were first trying to do this, we thought, hey, we can do that. We're going to be everything to everyone. And it's difficult at best. You know, and then what we started doing is looking out and say, okay, so we've got this CRM really dialed in. Who can help us with this marketing piece, and who's doing that really well? And then how do we make them talk to each other? You know, and that's really what I think that's the key. It's the single sign-on. I don't know about you, but I want things to be easy. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but I'll go to shopping online, and if they don't have PayPal, I'll leave, right? Because oh my gosh, I got to enter my credit card information. You're kidding me. Why can't you just have a PayPal link? And then I'll leave and go find another place to buy that product that has PayPal. And I think that that's the same concept when it comes to our agents and our brokerages when they're looking at technology, is that, you know, we can have these different areas, but the question is, how are they seamlessly tied together and talking to each other? That really comes down to the key.
And in addition to that, agents and consumers also want the app or the website, the tool to guide them through the process, so that you have minimum training. And we're all impassioned. We don't want to wait and to learn about products. We want the flow just to go on its own, the product to be self-explanatory. So I absolutely agree with you, Michael, that the user experience it's very important for today's products.
Yeah, our attention span is drastically decreased, right? I mean, we're down to like seconds now. And if I can't figure it out, then I'm like, I'm going. I just leave.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same on the shopping. Whenever I do shopping on like outfits and so on, if I don't see like pre-populating my data and my credit card, as you say, you prefer PayPal, then I just leave. I don't need this dress.
Yeah,
so bad.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So that brings up another interesting point. You know, as you said, adoption of technology can be difficult, especially if you're, you know, the owner of a large brokerage with hundreds of agents. And myself, as an account executive selling technology, one of the biggest pushbacks that I get is, yeah, your product's better, but, you know, the burden of having to retrain my whole staff and go through that headache, it's just not worth it. So what is your approach to that? And, you know, advice you can give on how to better integrate a powerful software?
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's interesting. I think when you think about just human nature and motivation, you know, we will go get excited and do something if it solves a pain point. And I think a lot of times what happens is that, you know, people go at it, and I get these, you know, you get a phone call that says, hey, we've got this technology that's going to revolutionize your business, but I don't have a need for it right now. That's number one, right? So if I had a pain point, you know, if somebody said, hey, what's working great for you? And I said, this is, well, then if your technology meets that need, it's not really going to resonate with me. But then if I said, here's my pain point, and they go, well, did you know that our technology does this? So now you have my interest, right? Now you have my interest. So then I go, okay, that's going to solve my pain point. So how easy is it going to solve my pain point? And how much of the burden is put on me, and how much of the burden is put on you to help train my sales force? Right? Do you have training in place? Is it, and I think, you know, in thinking this through, is it all mapped out? Is it baked all the way? Is the technology fully ready to go and up and running? Or are there things that we're saying, well, eventually we're going to have this, and eventually we're going to have that? So a couple of things we look for is, one is it solving a pain point that we have? Because if it is, then I know that I'm going to get more of the agents and more of the brokers connected to it, because they're going to say, wow, this is something we have a problem with. So we're going to be more open-minded to listening. Number two is, what's your training like? You know, is your training virtual? Do you have training videos set up? Can people sign up for constant webinars? I know with a lot of our technology now, we run a webinar on each one of our stacks, our training stacks, every single month, so that our agents have the ability to log in to our internal site and they can click and register for a webinar. And the beauty of it is, even if they don't have time to watch it, it's emailed to them for them to review it at their leisure. And so how easy are you setting up the training and making it accessible? And then also too, are you explaining, you know, a lot of times we in technology, I see a lot of people explaining what their technology does, but they don't tell me why I need it. You know, why? What's the why behind your technology? Is there a reason that it's going to benefit me? Is it going to help me be more efficient? Is it going to help me create more business and referrals? Is it going to streamline the process so it takes something off my plate? right? Why is it important? And so I think if those things are laid out, so to review kind of, you know, is it all done? And what is it solving a pain point? Number two is why is it important that I use it? And number three, are you putting the burden of training on me, or are you assisting me with that? And how available is your training, and where does it live? And how easy is it for me to deliver that to my agent population? I think those are critical things.
Gotcha. And then to kind of piggyback off that, when you're evaluating technology, you know, obviously if there's a specific need, but in the prop tech world now, there's so much tech being thrown to people. What's your own internal process for evaluating a product that you're thinking of adding to your tech stack? Both what you're looking to address, and then also internally how you evaluate it. Do you have certain people you rely on, or a formal process?
Absolutely. So first we have to say, you know, is there a need for it? So do we right now have a challenge where we're not meeting the need for our clients, and does this technology answer that need? That's a big one, right? Because sometimes you see a lot of duplication, and I know that in our industry, I hate to say this, but we're kind of attracted to the shiny new object. You know, we go, oh, look at this is something new. Let's go see what this does, as opposed to really asking, you know, is it going to benefit our clients? Number one. Number two, is it going to benefit the agent population? Is it going to allow them to be more efficient? And, you know, so is it going to give them more time to do the things they should be doing, which is building relationships? So whatever that is. So we look at that. And then what we want to do is we want to look at those people that we see that really get excited about it, and have them become champions for us, and get them maybe early adopters. Because, you know, it's tough to be a prophet in your own village, right? I mean, I can stand up in front of our group of agents and brokers and say, this is the best thing in the world. But, you know, I'm not looked at the same way as maybe some of the top producing real estate agents in our industry that are in our company that are using the tool, going, let me tell you how I used it and what happened with my business. Or let me tell you how I used it and how my clients are now giving me these phenomenal testimonials. That is a big piece. And so what we want to do then is, if we're going to adopt a technology, is to find those early adopters and get them on board using it, and then start creating messaging around those individuals that are using it, because then other people start to hear it more. They open up to the idea. And then it goes back to what is the consistent training, because, you know, I always joke, we all have photographic memories. We just don't all have film. You know, so sometimes they have to see it in our magic numbers. You know, they've got to be introduced to it at least 7 times. You know, seven touch points of training before all of a sudden they go, okay, I figured this out. And so we've got to really have some really good training sessions in place, and repetitive, right? Again, we're going to talk about it one more time. We're going to train on it one more time. And when we do that, so if it meets the need, if we get early adopters, and it's giving benefit to the client and benefit to the agent, and we have great training, we see higher levels of adoption.
Gotcha. Now, you've obviously implemented technology very early on in your real estate career. What piece of technology had the biggest effect on, you know, the way a broker owner or the way an agent operates in terms of efficiency, or just fundamentally changing what they do?
You know, that's a really good question. I would say there's 2 in my opinion. One is obviously the CRM, because, you know, if this business is about long-term relationships and getting referrals, we have to be able to see our clients and know when was the last time we interacted with them, and where are they in the process. So for example, if I just met you and I have no clue if you're going to be a buyer or you're going to be a seller, I just know that you're in marketing, then I need to have a checklist that says, what are the things I'm doing consistently for you? Because, you know, real estate agents are independent contractors, and they wear every hat in their business, and you know, they're running a business, but typically they're not like a normal business. So if I'm a business owner, I've got a CEO, I've got a CFO, I got a marketing team, you know, agents are everything. And so if they don't have really, really good checklists and tools that say, hey, today you've got a person you're marketing to, and here's the 3 things you should be doing, then what happens is we have what I call on-accident real estate agents. They just kind of happenstance get business. But if you have somebody on purpose and they have a tool like a CRM that says, hey, here's all the things you should be doing, and there's a touch point every day, I guess that's great, right? Because now they have something that helps them stay on task. So the CRM, in my opinion, is huge in terms of identifying the silos of contact. So I've got people who I market to, then I've got what we call the warm list, or the active client, right? That says, hey, we're going to do something, not soon, but so what's my communication with them? And then I've got the hot client that says, hey, we want to do something now. And each one of those has checklists and tools. So CRM, in my opinion, is just for efficiency of a real estate agent to build what I call epic service is paramount. And then the second piece I will tell you is the presentation material. You know, what does it look like? How am I showing up in a way that's above and beyond everybody else in the industry? So, you know, what does my CMA look like? And can I deliver it digitally? Do I have the ability to run QR codes? Do I have the ability to put it out there into the cloud? Does it automatically update? So like if I send you a CMA today, you know, a week from now, when that MLS has updated that data on those listings, does my tool automatically update, or does it require me to manually go back in and do it? Because if it requires me to manually go back in and do it, the chances of them doing it drops down to roughly 12% of them are going to do it, because they just get too busy and they forget. And so those two tools, a really good CRM and then a really good CMA, and that's to the client. And then I'll add one more. The back end, I got to tell you, transaction management. You know, we see real estate agents that try to run their transactions on their own and things fall through the cracks. And as soon as you have a really solid transaction management system, the efficiencies it gives the agents are just unreal, right? Because let's face it, I mean, most agents, if you look at their personality types, their attention to detail, they're more of that kind of like be out there, build the relationships piece. And I mean, not to say that there aren't agents that really have great attention to detail. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying what we see typically is that that's not really where their strong suit is. And so to have somebody or a tool or a functionality that manages that transaction from, you know, soup to nuts, A to Z, and then to have that epic experience for that client and then have that after the fact, you know, return to that marketing is huge. But most of the time what ends up happening is a lot of brokers leave that up to the agent, say, hey, you know, if you want it, it's available, but you got to pay for it. And I will tell you, you get what you pay for. And so transaction management, I will say, is probably the third leg to having a really good tech stack. Is, you know, you've got CRM, you've got your presentation stuff that goes out, and then you've got your transaction management.
And I'm sure you don't have a hard number, but what percentage of the industry would you say is using a transaction management platform?
That's a good one.
I don't know specifically. I can just tell you from looking at, like, if I was to take a typical office, right, with, you know, agents in there, I say you're going to be looking at between, you know, a 30-70, 20-80, just because, you know, it's there, but they don't all use it. You know, and we do coaching, we coach agents, and I love it. I just was on a call the other day with somebody who just now started doing transaction management, and she literally said, she goes, it revolutionized my business. There was things that I was doing that I didn't need to be doing. And now that I have this going for me, I mean, they're allowing me to free up time to go do so many other things. And, you know, that's huge when you get that type of feedback.
And the same for transaction coordinators. Probably half of the agents in the country are not using transaction coordinators yet, and they have to do a lot of manual work to go through the transaction, through the entire process. And if on top of that, they don't use any transaction platform, definitely their daily work is over-occupied with these tasks around transactions. And this is why we are so excited to automate this transaction, to make the life of agent easy, the life of transaction coordinators easy. We also haven't seen on the market the way we approach in terms of transaction management piece, where we automate the flow for the agents, so that we make these tips and guides, like now you need to press here, now you need to click or upload the document, both for the consumer and for the agent. We haven't seen anybody else doing that, and we're very excited that you share with us that one of the three major technologies also has the transaction management piece.
Yeah, I think I said this to you the other day. I said that what's better than free is easy.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and that's, you know, it's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
What area of the industry do you see the biggest opportunity for technology to disrupt, where there's a major pain point that is not being served by a technology solution?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know, if you think about it, one of the areas I think is the level of consistency. So, and I think we kind of discussed this, but, you know, if you look at our industry, there are independent contractors. And if you think about the people that are proactive versus reactive, I think technology can really help with building basically the process out. So if you think about all the moving parts that have to happen in a real estate transaction, it's one of the most complicated transactions that we go through in our lives. It's typically the biggest transaction that we're going to go through in our life. And there's so many moving parts. And the other thing too, is in real estate, it's not like selling a vehicle. If I buy a Ford truck in Portland or I buy a Ford truck in Seattle, they're still the same truck. They've got 4 doors, they got 4 tires, they got color differences, but it's still the same truck. But every single real estate transaction is different. Every single client is different. Every single scenario is different. Every market is different. Every dynamic in the market is different. And so if technology can literally sit down and say, hey, here's a process that you can go through, kind of a recipe, if you will, to say from the beginning to the end, here's the process. And are we keeping you accountable on that process and that checklist to say, are these things getting done? Because when that happens, right, we get phenomenal client experiences. And so if you go out and you think about, the companies that we frequent often and we talk about most, they're the companies that have a very consistent process where I know that I have, because the thing that clients hate is uncertainty. I mean, we all don't like it. It's the worst thing, is being uncertain. It's like what we're going through right now with COVID. Everybody's freaking out because we don't know. And I think that a lot of times in our business, in our industry, we have a lot of people that are clients that are going through with these real estate agents and they're confused and they're uncertain. And it's not because the agent wants them to feel that way. It's just because the agent really doesn't have some type of tool that's a succinct process that says, here's what you do next. And when this happens, you do this. And when this happens, you do this. So having something that kind of says, hey, here's your checklist, here's what you should do. And granted, we got to think for ourselves and we're going to have different strategies, but nonetheless, at least a framework. And so if technology can provide that, the client provides the interaction, the relationship building and all those types of things, but where's the checklist? It's like if I want to start a Starbucks, they go, well, here's how you make the coffee. Here's how you grind the coffee. Here's how you do the lattes. And here's how you do this. There's a recipe.
Yep.
And we know what recipes work and we know what recipes don't work. So, where is that?
Yeah, we have a piece of it for the transaction side where we can set checklists, but that's just one piece of the puzzle, as you know.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Another question related but a little different is, I know you do coaching with agents and broker owners about work-life balance. And as great as technology is, I think we're all learning that because everyone's from home working remotely, it's tough to set boundaries. So how are you advising the people you're working with on how to manage that?
That's a great question. First of all, it's just to know where you want to go, I think is the biggest thing. We talk about having your goals. So we're like, right now we're reevaluating the goals agents have set for 2020 because of the disruption of COVID. And so what that entails is, what are the activities you have to do to generate business, but what are the activities you have to do to keep sane and to have a life? And is there a balance of when those are? And it really comes down to time blocking and time management, which goes back to, tools. So, technology can really help us with that. So for example, if I know what the course of my day looks like, and I know the activities that I need to do, simple technology as a calendar, right? It's time blocking, reoccurrent, here's when I get up. Here's when I make my phone calls. Here's when I have time with the kids. Here's when you have date night. Here's, and that stuff, if that stuff is set up, and you commit to that time frame and you continue to do that, and you do that over and over and over again, it becomes a habit. And I think that not living reactively, but living proactively to say, here's what my daily design is, here's what my weekly design is, here's where I want to be in a year. And really having really good understanding of where you want to go. And when we do coaching, that's what we do. So, have you kind of mapped out your plan? Because if you're very vague on that, you're going to have vague results. If you're very focused on that, you're going to have very focused results. And so again, it goes back to checklists. It kind of all comes back to that idea. It's like, so what are the things we should be doing that we know give us the return? We call it the 80-20. What are the 20% of the things that you're going to do every day that's going to give you an 80% return? Make the most use of your time, work smarter, not harder, and then map it out. And when's it going to happen? And I think we talked about this with COVID now, because I got people staying at home. Sometimes my time frames have to shift. So maybe now I'm not doing a lot of work in the morning, but I'm doing work when the kids are taking a nap, or I'm doing work after I do the homeschooling with the kids. And now I'm going to shift this stuff to the afternoon, whatever it is. Figure out what time frame works for you, and then set it into a hard schedule and time block it. Because if it's on your calendar, you're going to do it.
Do you use this tactic during recruiting and retaining agents?
Absolutely. I think, in recruiting agents, I think the biggest question is, what do you want? You know, if I sit down with someone who says, I want to be in real estate, the first question we're going to ask is why? You know, why do you want to be in real estate? And then after they say that, then the question is, well, you know, where do you picture yourself in a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? And would it be helpful if we showed you how real estate could be the vehicle to get you there? And then we go from there. So having those conversations to say, and by the way, if that's where you want to be in a year from now, would it be helpful if we showed you kind of a process and a system that allows you to do that? Right.
And do you see many agents actually choosing companies, brokerages, and brands that are claiming they're tech driven, and some they are, some they're not. So how do you compete with Compasses, EXPs, or smaller brokerage startups?
Absolutely. So this is my philosophy, it's just my opinion. So, and I'm not a guru on this, but I know that it works. Is that I'll tell you at the end of the day, it's not so much about the technology and all that other stuff. At the end of the day, it's am I listening to what that person wants to do in their life? And am I allowing them to see how that opportunity lives with this company and how we can get you there and how we're going to help hold you accountable? You know, I mean, that's really what it boils down to. It has nothing to do with me and has everything to do with you. So if I know what your dreams are and what you want to do with your family and your life and where you want to be a year from now, and then I help you identify that real estate could be the vehicle to get you there. And here's how we have been able to help others to do the same thing. And we're going to be right there with you to make it happen. And you're not a number in our company, and we're not looking at how many transactions you do. We're looking at the quality of life that you have and the productivity that you have in this organization and the culture that we bring to the table and how we're enhancing communities and helping others. You know, more people buy into that than, hey, let me show you my great tech stack. And, you know, and do you know we've got some top producers in our company? Well, big deal. How does that benefit me? Right? How does that benefit me? Because I have a family and I have goals and I know where I want to go. And I'd love real estate to be the vehicle to get me there, but show me how that's going to happen. And so, you know, sitting down and mapping out a plan, you know, what's your plan? What's your life list? Are you doing all the things you want to do in life? And I think that's more important, right? Those types of conversations have a much greater impact. In fact, I'll tell you, we do it's called Recruit Night, and we have brand new people that come into our company, and we sit down, and the questions we all ask them is, hey, by the end of the night tonight when you leave, what's the one burning question that you want to get answered? And none of it is, well, I want to know how great your CRM is. Well, I want to know how great your CMA is. You know what they all say? I want to know how this is going to get me closer to my dreams. I mean, that's the burning question. And if we can answer that, you know, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal.
And going back to you with the dreams, what are your dreams for the real estate industry and for yourself?
You know, it's funny. So I have, they're written out. I have them, I call my whys. And one of my whys is just to positively impact people. I think that the more that we can have people be more of that optimistic mindset in allowing people to achieve their dreams, right? And so, because I see in our industry, we have a lot of people that sometimes, I don't want to call it infighting, but there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of turmoil when it comes down to a transaction. There shouldn't be a win-lose mentality. It should be a win-win mentality. You know, if a seller walks away and they're happy and a buyer walks away and they're happy, and both real estate agents have now established a solid relationship for future business referrals and working together, my job is to positively impact people so they positively impact others. And the other one is to raise the level of professionalism in our industry.
Yeah, this is very much needed.
Yeah, you know, we go through one of the biggest transactions, and if you think about the education that's needed to be a doctor or a lawyer, and then we hear, you know, let's face it, I mean, getting a real estate license is not a complicated process. Yet we hold these people's lives in our hands of their dreams of where they're going to live, right? And based on the quality of your real estate agent determines your success in this industry. And so, how can we raise the level of professionalism across the board? That's one of our challenges. And then the other one is just, how do we take this really great industry and really give back to our communities? You know, enhance the communities that we live in. You know, with what's going on right now, it's a big deal. Well, it always has been a big deal, but it's kind of been brought to the forefront, if you will.
So that kind of brought up a question that I have. So I joined Propy in the midst of the pandemic, and it was an interesting process joining a new company and not physically being with the team. And we've done a great job with, you know, doing Zoom meetings, and everybody's been supportive and you know, getting up to speed. But it was funny. I was having a conversation with a friend who's an agent, and she's doing very well right now. Has done more business in 2 months than all last year. But she said the one thing that's been difficult is she said, she misses the water cooler talk in the office, and she said that's when a lot of stuff happens, whether it's referrals or even just a younger agent talking to an older agent, mentorship, and it's those little interactions that you don't really think about, but they're incredibly important. So, how are you trying to supplement for that, and have you heard of anybody else and different things that they're doing? I know myself, I'm on the phone more than ever. People I'd normally see in person, I'm trying to make an effort to make a handful of phone calls every day to keep in touch, but curious to hear your thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's interesting too, because now that this has happened and we're all kind of stationary, but we have this virtual world where some people are really leveraging and some aren't. And what I'm finding is that some of our brokers are doing a great job at not just having, their normal sales meeting virtually, but they're opening up that door of being connected virtually multiple times a week. So, we've got a great operator in Walla Walla by the name of Doug Simcock, and, he runs his operation, but he has his normal weekly meeting, but then he does a virtual, he does a Thursdays, he does a Forms Friday, he does a What's Working Wednesday. And not all of the agents participate, but they all have that opportunity because he's putting it out there for them to come in, and then he opens it up for them to have conversations and talk with each other. And so it's not the water cooler talk or the resource room talk, but it's still, they can still communicate and talk back and forth and still have that feeling of being connected to something and get information. And then the other one is, I just tell real estate, hey, reach out. If you had a great group of colleagues that you were dealing with when we were in the office, why are you not setting up a weekly virtual meeting with those people, right? And facilitate that and become a connector, right? And not just with your office, but maybe with your community or whatever it is, but using those virtual tools for that aspect of it. We see people really excelling there, right? And I think it's what's Simon Sinek say, you can complain about the darkness or you can light a candle. And so there's some people that go, oh, I can't be at the office, this is horrible. And I said, well, we can complain about that all day long, or you can, use your tools, right? Just like what we're doing now. We're having a conversation. We're virtually here. I'm in my office, you're in New York, and Natalia, are you in Washington too now still?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
I spent 3 months there, beautiful area. Now
yeah.
I'm back to California. So
okay. Right. So we're in 3 different areas of the United States and we're having this conversation, and there's all these people listening. I think that it's a really phenomenal way to do it, but you got to think out of the box. And I think we have an industry that, this kind of hit them and then they're kind of struggling, and now they're trying to figure out we can do these things. And I think this is going to continue. I think it's a good thing. I think even when we get back to eventually where we're going to be, interacting more close together, I still think this virtual world is a huge benefit to us.
Yeah, for sure. It's also very helpful in training and making technology more adopted, not only because now we have to transact and do our business online, but also now we're so open to Zoom calls and share our screens that it makes this cycle of training really shortened and easy.
Yeah, I just wish I just would have bought more Zoom stock.
Everyone does.
Yeah, everyone does. Yeah, exactly. I know, right?
Another question too is there any tech that you're now using post-COVID that you weren't using prior?
Yes.
Other than Zoom.
Well, what's interesting is I think if you guys are familiar with Matterport photography, I think that, prior to COVID, it was kind of, people thought that, oh, we put that on the premier listings, the higher price listings. And now you're seeing Matterport being used, across the board, because now we have this ability to do virtual open houses. You're also seeing a lot of agents that are utilizing Zoom for those types of connections, right? So setting up a Zoom meeting and then publishing it out to social media. You're seeing Facebook Live being used a lot more for those types of things. And then also just apps, right? Very, so like BombBomb, huge jump, because now, I have this, I need to embed video into my emails and my email campaign, because maybe I've got videos of homes that I need to push out there. So we're seeing that being used a lot more. Apps like Marco Polo. I had it on my phone. I really wasn't sure what it was. And then all of a sudden COVID hit. And now all of a sudden, this Marco Polo, I'm using this app. TikTok. is getting used more. I mean, it's crazy.
What is Marco Polo? I'm not aware of this one.
Oh, Marco Polo. Oh, so it's an app on your phone, and it's what it is. It's not texting, but it's video. So I can fire a video off to you, and it's me talking to you, and then you can respond back to me with a video, and it's not real time, but it says, hey, Michael just left you a video, and then you click it and you watch the video, and then you can talk back to me in a video.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Marco Polo. But
Okay. Well,
I've some
I'm more
agents.
familiar with TikTok.
What's that?
I'm more familiar with TikTok with having a teenager in the house.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. But I think those are some technologies that we're seeing that are getting used more. And then the other one is just automation, right? So automated email campaigns and the frequency of updates of data. You know, we used to do our Matthew Gardner is our economist with our company, and he would do monthly updates, and now we're doing weekly updates. And they're also videos, and they're living in YouTube, and our agents are feeding that out to their network through social media, which wasn't happening prior to COVID. And now with COVID, it's kind of information on steroids, if you will.
Yeah, we have a question here. Any ideas on utilizing technology for new client acquisition? I think we refer here to new seller or new buyer.
Absolutely. You know, one of the biggest things that I see that we talk about is, is doing what are called prop reviews. It's interesting. So I just today on my homes, I got an automatic email that comes in from my mortgage broker. It just says, hey, did you realize this is how your property is doing based on your mortgage and appreciation? And it's phenomenal information that I love. Real estate agents that are doing those annual reviews for clients. So for example, if I had a client that I worked with last year this time, this year they should be getting digitally from me or sent both digitally and sent in the mail, a property review that just says, hey, here's how well your property's done. And this isn't to solicit a listing. This is simply to educate that owner of that home on what their home has done in terms of the valuation. And then also maybe they want to notify their insurance company, so their insurance company can change their insurance binder to make sure they're properly insured. Maybe they want to let their financial planner know so they can update the value of their home and their net worth portfolio. But I want to become your real estate trusted advisor, because in doing that, I trigger the mindset of that client, because those people know what 3 to 4 people that potentially going to do something in real estate this year. But we know this to be the case, and Zillow did the study, only 6% of agents follow up with their clients after they close the transaction.
Wow.
I mean, like at all, do anything, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not so much digital, it's just that, digitally can you get this information to them, but what's your touch points? How frequently are you interacting with those clients after the fact of the transaction closing? Because we have this very transactional mindset in our industry. So if you want to go generate more business, reach out to the people that already know, like, and trust you, and ask, how much value are you giving them on an annual basis and monthly? What are your touch points? What's your frequency of interaction? And that's what we see for people to enhance that level of business and get into that referral business space.
And here I would add also on the point, Michael, that you mentioned, how to be active in post-transaction world. And what we're doing here at Propy is that we put a QR code on the deeds, and whenever the next buyer or the current seller needs to access the previous disclosures or documents of the transaction, the broker and the agent are getting notifications that somebody just scanned the QR code on the deed. Maybe there is an intention to do something now with this house. So that's another touch base for agents to be active post-transaction. And then another idea on utilizing technology for new sellers. Through our webinars, we talked about a number of technologies, obviously virtual tours and a number of others, as well as offer management that we have at Propy that allows the seller to get offers right away, instantly, to get a dashboard with all the comparison of all the offers, especially if it's a multiple offer situation. Then they get a dashboard and they can compare instantly all the offers, and any offer can, it's just impossible an offer to disappear or not to be delivered or go to a spam folder and agents forget to send it. And what we've noticed through those webinars that it's really important, the technologies and the tools that you strongly believe in, that they will bring the value to your seller or to your buyer, put them in the presentation for the seller so that they know what you operate with. So that's one of the advices that we got from our guests here.
I think that's awesome. I mean, I think that anything you do to streamline the process should be upfront and full and given information that says, hey, here's when I list a home, here's everything we do. And by the way, right now we're in a really heavy buyers or sellers market, so we're seeing multiple offers. So as you know, I now have a tool by which we can analyze all these multiple offers. It's going to come in. It's going to help you really have a clear understanding of what's going to be the best offers for you. And I'm going to be there to walk you through that. And that's one of the tools that we provide. That's one of the biggest missed opportunities, is talking up front about, well, what do you have that makes it so that I'm going to choose you versus, the other company. We call that in training the value edge. We have value parity, meaning that, I just check it off. Yep, they got a CRM. Yes, they do this. Yes, they do virtual tours. What's the value wedge? What's the wedge in my mind that says you're my choice?
Yeah, that's a great point. And so we will be wrapping up this webinar for today. After this session, we'll have a demo of Propy tool to show exactly how offers are working and the transaction piece is working, as well as we will update on the new items that we delivered recently in the last couple of weeks. But Michael, to wrap up, what are your key tips for agents that are willing to join brokerages, what they need to look after when they are joining a new team? And then a piece of advice to broker owners when they want to recruit more agents and retain their current teams, what they need to pay attention to.
Well, I would say I have one word for both of those, and it's relationships. I will say that your relationships are your most valuable asset in this business. And I think that having an understanding that this world is it's a infinite game, not a finite game. A transaction is finite. It's got a start, a middle, and an end. The infinite game is the quality of the relationship you have with that client and how much value you bring to the table. So if you're looking to look at a brokerage, you need to ask yourself, how vested are they in helping you maintain strong relationships to the community, to your business, and what are the tools that are going to allow you to streamline that process? That's critical. And to a broker owner, how much value are you putting in your real estate agents? Do they know that they're wanted? Do they feel significant? Do they know that you're vested in their long-term success? And how often are they hearing that from you? Or are they just a number that says, hey, how many transactions are you going to do this month? There's a big difference there. And if you want retention, what's your culture? What's your culture based in, and how vested are you in those people? Do you know who they are? Do they know their family? Do you know what they want to do in their life? Do you know what their dreams are? Do you know whether they like to go on vacation? And how often are you communicating with them? I mean, those are critical pieces, because we all want to feel significant. That's a huge need. And most agents don't leave because of money or technology. You know why they leave? They don't feel as if they were valued.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why they're looking someplace else.
Yeah, very, very good advice, very good tips. Thank you, Michael, so much for joining us today and providing this outstanding knowledge base that you have. I think we have another question. Yeah, we have just a lot of thanks to you, Michael. So once again, thank you everyone who is willing to stay and look at the updates around our product. Feel free to stay, and we'll be showing the demo shortly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Hey, thank you. I'm going to jump off. If that's okay with you guys. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.